good evening. This is Houndog Steve wishing you a very pleasant evening. And I'd like to thank you all for joining me and talk about a dystopian journey. I came across this article the other day about cognitive warfare. And this is something that the UN is discussing, and I believe they're actually doing right now. This article came from a kind of think tank proposal that was hosted by Canada this year, and it was how to defend yourself against cognitive warfare. Now, basically, cognitive warfare is a battle for your mind. And as I'm reading through this article, I'm going to read you the whole article after I've done this little intro. And as I was reading through the article, I was noticing how much it sounded like what we've actually been through in the last 18 months. The information confusion, the disinformation, the outright lies. If you go on to the different websites and read some of the information on there, it is contradictory to what these organizations, CDC and the World Health Organization, are saying in public. Certain things that were on there have been scrubbed now. Like the study that they did on all of the studies on non-pharmaceutical interventions, i.e. masks and so on and so forth, showing that they had no effect whatsoever. The isolating of people, the continually bombarding them with the same narrative, pushing you to get the inoculation. You know, when I drove down to Burgessville the other day, I covered, as I said, 750 kilometers of territory on the highway, and I bet you just about every overhead sign had the picture of a hypodermic needle on there, basically, trying to push you into getting the inoculation. It's stunning. How this is showing up. Radio stations, every radio station has paid ads. The CBC, I used to be a devoted CBC listener. I stopped listening to the CBC around about 5 years ago because they just couldn't stomach the narratives that they were pushing on there. But I guess it had been about 6 months since I'd caught a little piece of the CBC. I turned them on this trip down to Burgessville, and it was like I hadn't turned off the damn radio. It was this continual divisiveness around the LGBTQ community, the Black Lives Matter, the Antifa, all of these micro groups, all basically fomenting anger and angst and pouring hatred over each other. And when you read, like I say, read this article, and you will see how this has all been planned. This is all part of cognitive warfare. Okay, so let's go over and take a little read of this article, and we'll come back. I'll do a quick wrap up because it is a long article, and I hope you stay with it because it is stunning. And I am going to link that below also in the description box so that you can read it for yourself at your leisure. Okie dokie, here we go. And I thought I'd just add in this from the Grey Zone, just to give you a different perspective from a different publication. While the NATO Doc study insists that much of its research on cognitive warfare is designed for defensive purposes, it also conceded that the military alliance is developing offensive tactics, stating the human is very often the main vulnerability and should be acknowledged in order to protect NATO's human capital, but also to be able to benefit from our adversaries' vulnerabilities. In a chilling disclosure, the report said explicitly that the objective of cognitive warfare is to harm societies and not only the military. With entire civilian populations in NATO's crosshairs, the report emphasized that Western militaries must work more closely with academia to weaponize social sciences and human sciences and help the alliance develop its cognitive warfare capacities. There you go. Okay, and this is from the Grey Zone. Canada hosts NATO Innovation Challenge on Cognitive Warfare. Twice each year, NATO holds a pitch-style event that it brands as an innovation challenge. These campaigns, one hosted in the spring, the other in the fall by alternating member states, call on private companies, organizations and researchers to help develop new tactics and technologies for the military alliance. The Shark Tank-like challenges reflect the predominant influence of neoliberal ideology within NATO, as participants mobilise the free market, public-private partnerships and the promise of cash prizes to advance the agenda of the military-industrial complex. And as it says, this was hosted by Canada this year, and I find that kind of interesting, given that we're going through what we're going through at this present time. And here we have one of those documents put forward by NATO Review, and this is Johns Hopkins University and the Imperial College London. So this is some serious thinking going on here. And it's called Countering Cognitive Warfare, Awareness and Resilience. The Alliance faces a range of challenges in emerging domains of conflict. These domains can arise from the introduction of new and disruptive technologies. The domains of space and cyber, for example, came out of developments in rocket, satellite computing, telecommunications and internetworking technologies. The increasingly widespread use of social media, social networking, social messaging and mobile device technologies is now enabling a new domain, cognitive warfare. In cognitive warfare, the human mind becomes the battlefield. The aim is to change not only what people think, but how they think and act. Waged successfully, it shapes and influences individual and group beliefs and behaviours to favour an aggressor's tactical or strategic objectives. In its extreme form, it has the potential to fracture and fragment an entire society, so that it no longer has the collective will to resist an adversary's intentions. An opponent could conceivably subdue a society without resorting to outright force or coercion. The aims of cognitive warfare can be limited with short-time horizons, or they can be strategic with campaigns launched over the course of decades. A single campaign could focus on the limited aim of preventing a military maneuver from taking place as planned, or to force the alteration of a specific public policy. Did you catch that? Or to force the alteration of a specific public policy. Several successive campaigns could be launched with the long-term objective of disrupting entire societies or alliances by seeding doubts about governance, subverting democratic processes, triggering civil disturbances, or instigating separatist movements. Ring a bell, anybody? Combined arms. In the last century, the innovative integration of mobile infantry, armour and air resulted in a new and initially irresistible kind of manoeuvre warfare. Today, cognitive warfare integrates cyber, information, psychological and social engineering capabilities to achieve its ends. It takes advantage of the internet and social media to target influential individuals, specific groups, and large numbers of citizens selectively and serially in a society. It seeks to sow doubt, to introduce conflicting narratives, to polarize opinion, to radicalize groups, and to motivate them to acts that can disrupt or fragment an otherwise cohesive society. And the widespread use of social media and smart device technologies in alliance member countries may make them particularly vulnerable to this kind of attack. Now, I would suggest that this is exactly what we're going through right now, that they are pulling off cognitive warfare all through the CV outbreak. Look at all the things that they've done so far. They've isolated us, they've absolutely pounded us with their narrative, they've shut down any kind of alternate voice or any kind of anyone contradicting that narrative. Unbelievable. Fake news not required. It is useful to note that false information or fake news are not required to achieve the aims of cognitive warfare. An embarrassing government document hacked from a public official's email account, anonymously leaked into a social media sharing site, or dribbled out selectively to opposition groups in a social network is sufficient to cause dissension. A social messaging campaign that inflames the passions of online influencers can cause controversies to go viral. Social media groups may be motivated to organize demonstrations and to take to the street. Official denials or ambiguous public responses in these circumstances can add to confusion and doubt, or to entrench conflicting narratives among segments of the populace. While fake social media accounts and automated messaging bots can augment this dynamic, they are not required. A recent MIT study found that the emotions of surprise and disgust alone make messages go viral, and regular users, not bots, rapidly resend them. Now remember that when you're reposting some of the stuff on Facebook. Our clever devices. A paper copy of your favourite newspaper does not know what news items you prefer to read, but your tablet computer does. The advertisement you saw in the paper does not know that you went to the store to buy what was advertised, but your smartphone does. The editorial you read does not know that you enthusiastically shared it with some of your closest friends. Your social network system does. Our social media applications track what we like and believe. Our smartphones track where we go and who we spend time with. Our social networks track who we associate with and whom we exclude. And our search and e-commerce platforms use these tracking data to turn our preferences and beliefs into action by offering stimuli to encourage us to buy things we might not otherwise have purchased. Thus far, consumer societies have seen and accepted the benefits. The tablet computer serves us news stories that it knows we will like because it wants to keep us engaged. Advertisements are displayed that conform to our tastes based on our previous purchases. Coupons appear on our smartphone to encourage us to stop at the store that, by some apparent coincidence, is on our current route already. Social networks present opinions that we heartily agree with. Friends in our social network circles share these opinions too, and those who do not are quietly unfriended or leave on their own. In short, we increasingly find ourselves in comfortable bubbles where distasteful or disturbing news items, opinions, offerings, and persons are rapidly excluded, if they appear at all. The danger is that the society at large may fragment into many such bubbles, each blissfully separate from the others, and as they drift apart, each is more likely to be disturbed or shocked whenever they come into contact. The regular bustle and commerce of the public square, the open debate in a public forum, the sense of a common res publica, public affairs, of a pluralistic society, these moderating influences may become weakened and attenuated, and our sensibilities more easily disturbed. What once was a vibrant open society becomes instead a collection of multiple closed micro-societies cohabiting the same territory, subject to fracture and disarray. And we're seeing that right now with the LGBTQ community, Black Lives Matter and that kind of stuff. The feminists, the right-wingers, the left-wingers, the Trumpers, the anti-Trump. I mean, look at the bubbles that we have in our society today. Our weakened minds. Our cognitive abilities may also be weakened by social media and smart devices. There you go. They're telling you something right there. Your cognitive abilities may be weakened by social media and smart devices. Social media use can enhance the cognitive biases and innate decision errors described in the Nobel Prize-winning behaviorist Daniel Kahneman's book, Thinking Fast and Slow. News feeds and search engines that serve results which align with our preferences increase confirmation bias, whereby we interpret new information to confirm with our preconceived beliefs. Social messaging apps rapidly update users with new information, inducing recency bias, whereby we overweight the importance of recent events over those of the past. Social networking sites induce social proofing, wherein we mimic and affirm others' actions and beliefs to fit in with our social groups, which become echo chambers of conformism and groupthink. The rapid pace of messaging and news releases and the perceived need to quickly react to them encourages thinking fast, reflexively and emotionally, as opposed to thinking slow, rationally and judiciously. Even established and reputable news outlets now post emotional headlines to encourage viral diffusion of their news articles. People spend less time reading their content even as they increase the frequency in sharing them. Social messaging systems are optimized to distribute short snippets that often omit important context and nuance. This can facilitate the spread of both intentionally and unintentionally misinterpreted information or slanted narratives. The brevity of social media posts in combination with striking visual images may prevent readers from understanding others' motives and values. The need for awareness. The advantage in cognitive warfare goes to him who moves first and chooses a time and place and means of the offensive. Cognitive warfare can be waged using a variety of vectors and media. The openness of social media platforms allows adversaries to easily target individuals, selecting groups and the public via social messaging, social media influencing, selective releases of documents, video sharing, etc. Cyber capabilities permit the use of spear phishing, hacking, and tracking of individuals and social networks. And of course, this is exactly what's happening right now. And, they're talking about an enemy doing this to us and how they're going to deal with it. But they're actually doing it to us now as if we are the enemy. And why would you even be thinking of this kind of stuff? I mean, it is beyond belief. A proper defense requires at the very least an awareness that a cognitive warfare campaign is underway. It requires the ability to observe and orient before decision makers can decide to act. Technology solutions can provide the means to answer some key questions. Is there a campaign going on? Where did it originate? Who is waging it? What might be its aims? Our research indicates that there are patterns of such campaigns that repeat and can be classified. They may even provide signatures unique to specific actors that can help to identify them. A particularly useful technology solution may be a cognitive warfare monitoring and alert system. Such a system could help to identify cognitive warfare campaigns as they arise and to track them as they progress. It could include a dashboard that integrates data from a wide range of social media, broadcast media, social messaging, and social networking sites. This would display geographic and social network maps that show the development of suspected campaigns over time. And, I'm going to recall your attention to the recent video that I just did about the Canadian military conducting PSYOPs using techniques that they learned in Afghanistan on the Canadian public. By identifying the locations, both geographic and virtual, in which social media posts, messages and news articles originate, the topics under discussion, sentiment and linguistic identifiers, pacing of releases and other factors, a dashboard could reveal connections and repeating patterns. Links between social media accounts, for example shares, comments, interactions, and their timing could be observed. The use of machine learning and pattern recognition algorithms could help quickly to identify and classify emerging campaigns without the need for human intervention. Such a system would allow real-time monitoring and provide timely alerts to NATO and alliance decision makers, helping them to formulate appropriate responses to campaigns as they emerge and evolve. Considerations on resilience. Since the early days of the alliance, NATO has played an essential role in promoting and enhancing civil preparedness among its member states. Article 3 of the NATO founding treaty establishes the principle of resilience, which requires all alliance member states to maintain and develop their individual and collective capacity to resist armed attack. This includes supporting the continuity of government and the provision of essential services, including resilient civil communications systems. Some key considerations for NATO at this time are how best to take the lead in defying cognitive attacks, and how to help alliance members maintain awareness, and how to support more robust civil communications infrastructures and public education frameworks in order to enhance the capacity to resist and to respond. So you can take that for what it's worth, but I think that it outlines exactly what is taking place in our society today and has been over the last 18 months. Now, if that doesn't rock your socks, I don't know what will. I think this is basically proof positive, especially when you tie in the other videos that I did about the Canadian military, using psyops that they learned in Afghanistan on the people of Ontario and Canada, and seeing this as a unique opportunity. And these are exactly the same things. These are exactly the same things that was in this piece that I just read. So yes, it is being rolled out right now as we speak, and we are the enemy. They're telling us that we, the people, are the enemy. And I think that that is absolutely stunning information, that this is being played out right now. And the damage, as they said in the article, they can reduce whole societies to quivering masses. And when you look at the suicides, when you look at the drug overdoses, when you look at the abuse that's taking place in homes, when you look at the people who've lost their businesses, when you look at the people who can't see their loved ones, their relatives in nursing homes, can't go to funerals. I mean, I don't think there is anybody in the Western world that hasn't been negatively affected and had some kind of mental impact by this. And to think that this is a deliberate game being played by the UN through the UN countries of the world is absolutely staggering, and it should stun every single person, whether you are a Liberal, a Labour, NDP, it doesn't matter who you are, what political stripe you have. This should stun you and leave your jaw literally on the ground. So please think about that. Think about what's happening right now. And as this is being rolled out, as your brain is being turned to mush by this cognitive warfare psyop that's being played on us, think about acting now. Because by the time this is done, we won't have the opportunity to speak up. Okay, you can see how quickly our rights are being stripped away. So act now. What's that old saying? Marry in haste, repent at leisure. Okay, you'll have plenty of time to repent, and it won't be at leisure. Okay, well, if you've enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe below. And in the meantime, this is Houndog Steve signing off, wishing you a very pleasant evening, and we'll talk very, very shortly. You take care now. See ya. Bye.